Good day, everyone. Welcome back to iOS YouTube channel. So this is another section of our Research Institute. As you know that iOS have been helping so far on final year project, thesis, or dissertation. So today we'll be looking at the chapter 1 outline, how you can develop your chapter 1 for final year projects, and it's going to be looking good and nice and in fact, highly acceptable by your supervisor. So today I'll be using this topic as our scope and the basic examples on how you can develop your chapter 1. So, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel because that is one of the things that keep us moving on. So subscribe, like, and comment. At the same time, you can even ask questions in the comments box. I will definitely reply you. So today, we will limit our scope of examples to how you can develop your chapter 1 based on this particular project topic. Now, what is the project topic? The project topic is the determinants of customer loyalty on e-commerce platforms among University of Ibadan students. Now, this project topic is just a title. Before moving on, I would like to explain to you that the project topic is not your problem. It's not the actual problem. It's just giving you the title. It's just a title. It's just a label that is showing us what it intends to do. It is not the problem. The problem resides in your statement of the problem. But let's move on. So the title of this topic is the determinants of customer loyalties on e-commerce platform among University of Ibadan students. Now, there are some important things you need to know from your topic before you construct or you build anything on your chapter 1 project. First, identify your dependent and independent variable. Like look at the topic, look at the title, identify your dependent and independent variable. Because the first outline of your chapter 1 is background to the study. And under the background to the study, what they want you to explain, to make clarification of is your variables, the variables in your topic. And the variables in your topic are dependent and independent variable. At times, we introduce what we call control variable. But for simplicity, for the level of your chapter 1 now, we are looking at dependent and independent variable in your topic. Then your topic, the title, will showcase your dependent and independent variable. Now, let's look at this topic now. The determinants of customer loyalties. The determinant of customer loyalties. That means we want to look at some factors that determines customer loyalties. Sorry. Let me repeat myself. That is, according to this topic, we want to look at some factors that determine customer loyalty. That means customer loyalty is dependent variable. Customer's loyalty is dependent variable. That is, for a customer to be loyal or patronizing you frequently or continuous patronage, it's going to depend on some factors. It is some factors that will lead to customer loyalty. That means customer loyalties are depending on that factors, are depending on that determinant that we are looking at. Customer cannot just be loyal to you. There must be something that causes it. And that means whatever that causes the loyalty, customer loyalty is depending on those factors. Customer loyalty is depending on those determinants. So before you start anything in your chapter 1, you as a final year student, or you that you are writing your master's thesis or dissertation, just first of all, identify your dependent and independent variable. Based on this topic now, I've explained to you what we call dependent and independent. So customer loyalty is the one depending on other factors that can lead to or that can cause customers' loyalty. Then, in this, as I said, this is just a title. With this title now, we don't know the determinants yet. We don't know those factors yet. Those determinants, those factors are now our independent variable. Those factors, those determinants are now our independent variable because they are independent. They are the one explaining what leads to customer loyalty. The explained variable there is customer loyalty. There's still many names for dependent and independent variable. For example, I said explained and explaining variable. Explained variable is dependent variable. Explaining variable are independent because they are the ones that are trying to explain something that leads to customer loyalty. So if these factors does not exist, peradventure customer will not come back to you to patronize you. But these factors are what leads to customer loyalty. So that's the first thing you need to know, that your dependent and independent variable, because that is the first outline of the chapter 1, background of the study. So let's move on to the next page. Now, in our next page now, this is chapter 1 outline. Chapter 1 outline. So chapter 1 project outline. So these are the outlines that you need for your chapter 1. The first one we have here is our, background to the study. Now, under the background to the study here, what we are to explain, or what you are to explain based on your topic is, you need to explain the first thing you need to explain, the first paragraph is explaining your dependent variable. The first paragraph is to explain your dependent variable. Then you cannot explain your independent variable according to the way you feel like it should be. We believe that you cannot have one dependent and independent variable, but you can only have one dependent variable and many independent variables. Do you understand? So the background to the study is to explain and introduce your variable to us. That is what it's just all about. And you now explain the interconnection between your independent variable and dependent variable? What is the leakages? What's link your dependent variable to your independent variable? And that is what we are looking at under the background to the study. So then after that, you move to the next headline, which is statement of the problem. In the explanation of your background to the study, you should have been explaining or introduce some hindrance or problems that arise in this particular topic you are treating. So let me give you these instances. When we said research, it is only when there is a problem you go into research. So for you to work on any project or any topic or dive into anything research, that means there is a problem already that you want to solve. And that's why statement of the problem is very important. Without any problem, there's no research. If there's no problem that we want to find solution to, we will not go into research. So statement of the problem is one of the important factors in research. So your statement of the problem, whatever you are explaining your statement of the problem, must associate with your dependent and independent variable. That's another key factor. Don't go outside the box. Don't mention what is not in your variables, both dependent and independent variable. For example, if someone is working on monetary policy and economic growth, and you are now explaining variables in fiscal policy in the statement of the problem, no. You're out of the box already. So what your statement of the problem entails is to explain the problem that arises from independent variable that affects the dependent variable. So you see, you have to be consistent in your research. You have to be consistent in the sense that your dependent and independent variable that you are explaining from the background of the study is what you are bringing down to the statement of the problem at the same time. I'm going to show you an example. Then after this, we have objectives of the study. Although some people used to add research questions. So you can be thinking of why research question is not here. Some people used to ask for research questions. But for this course, or for this video, I would like to explain to you that either use research questions or research objective or research hypothesis. Research question will come immediately after the statement of the problem. But you can choose to use just one of them to represent it, because why I say that you can choose to choose one is because your research questions, research objective, and research hypothesis must be saying the same thing. If you choose to use the 3, or even if you choose to use the 2, and you can choose to use 1, because they must be passing the same information. Whatever your research question is asking must be the objectives you want to achieve, and research hypothesis. So in most cases, research hypothesis is applicable to primary data. Yes, in most cases, research hypothesis is applicable and useful when you are working with primary data. But according to this project topic, I limit my own to only objectives, because both objective and research questions are saying the same thing, including the research hypothesis. They shouldn't be different. So you can run into a problem when your research question is saying something else and your objective is saying another thing. No, the supervisor is going to run it for you. So make sure that your research questions, research objectives are talking about the same thing. And what we are doing in research questions and research objectives are still based on our variables, our dependent and independent variables. Now, objectives of the studies. Objective of the study. So we are dealing with objective of the studies because we know that problem already exists. So there is a problem and we want to solve the problem. Then what are the objectives we have in place to achieve this particular aim? Because our aim is that we want to solve the problem. Then for you to have the aim to solve the problem, then there must be some set of objectives that you set aside because you want to achieve that particular aim. That is what is there. So then let's moving on to justification of the study. Don't forget, I told you that you have research hypothesis. Research hypothesis will be coming after objective of the study, and I told you that this is likely applicable when you are dealing with primary data. So you state an hypothesis. And an hypothesis is just a mere assumption that is subjected to test. Hypothesis is just a mere assumption that is subjected to test. And mind you, if you are using primary data and your analysis is going to be on purely descriptive, you don't need hypothesis. It's only when you want to do empirical analysis or you want to do inferential analysis, that is where you inculcate what we call research hypothesis. But if you are doing purely descriptive, you don't need research hypothesis. So let's move to the justification of the study. So under the justification of the study, this is to explain to us that who are the beneficiary of your study? Who are the people that will benefit from this study? That's the justification of the study. So who are those people that will benefit? Is it the government? Is it the company? Is it students? Is it academic field? Is it an institution? There are some studies that it is for the benefit of the consumers. So you let us know under the justification of the study. Then the scope of the study. Then what scope are we looking at? Although this particular video is subjected to primary data. Yes, primary data. Although you have the same content when you are using secondary data. But for the scope of the study for primary and secondary data, you can tell us the range of the year you want to look at when you are dealing with secondary data under the scope. For example, if you are looking at the impact of inflation on economic growth, Then what range of years are you looking at? That's what we're going to be. Are you looking at the impact of inflation from 2020 to 2024 or to 2025? That's what we mean by scope of studies under the secondary data. But under the primary data, the scope of the study under the primary data will be explaining your area of concentration. Yes, your area of concentration or your case study, in short, your case study. As far as this is concerned about this topic now, if you look at the title of the topic, is determinant of customer loyalties on e-commerce platform among University of Ibadan students. So that means my scope of the study is among University of Ibadan students. That means the area of concentration is I want to check what is let me just say, what are the factors that influence students to keep patronizing e-commerce platform? What I mean by e-commerce platform, like buying and selling or purchasing and sales of products or services on electronics network, through online, through internet, such as Jumia, Gigi, Congo, Temu. So what influences students? So it is the students, the area of concentration to this particular topic is the students. That means my scope to this particular topic is students. So some people can be looking at states, in Oyo State, in Ibadan, that's their own scope. So therefore, I'll be using the write-up in this particular topics to be giving you some instances and examples of what I mean by outline of chapter 1. So let's move on. These are examples. You can see that the write-up of this thing, chapter 1, we have introduction, and if you look at it very well, the background of the study. The background of the study starts with e-commerce platform. Because the e-commerce platform is associated with dependent variable. We are looking at customer loyalties on e-commerce platform. So the first thing they explain here is the e-commerce platform, which is associated with dependent variable. So when you are explaining your background study, it starts with dependent variable. So here, you just give us the concept, short concept of what e-commerce platform is. Explain what e-commerce platform is. Because this one says e-commerce platform refers to purchase and sales of product, service over electronic networks. So we already know that this is what e-commerce platform is. So it gives short history and what do we mean? An example of e-commerce platform, such as, you can see them here, such as Konga, Temu, Jumia. You can see them there. So then, the main variable is here, customer loyalty. You see, the next paragraph is now explaining the main dependent variable, which is customer loyalty. So you give us the concept of customer loyalty and what can affect customer loyalty. By telling us what can affect customer loyalty, you are trying to introduce statement of the problem. So this customer loyalty is my dependent variable. So they say customer loyalty in e-commerce is the continued and frequent usage of online store by the customer in terms of satisfaction, trust, and brand attachment. You understand? So here they are explaining what customer loyalty means. That when people continue and frequently patronize a particular product, then it refers to as customer loyalty. So you can see that here in this background of the study, the first explanation here is what is my dependent variable. So as I can now identify the determinants. Don't forget that determinants are some factors that affect customer loyalty. So what are those factors? And those factors we now regard as my what? As my independent variable. You can see the first determinant here, which is the factors of independent variable, is what? Customer satisfaction. So they believe that when customers are satisfied with your product, they will come back and patronize you. This is a factor. When you don't satisfy your customer, or ineffective customer satisfaction now become a statement of the problem. You know that the customer satisfaction is already my independent variable, which I'm explaining by background of the study. The negativity of customer satisfaction will be my problem as what? As part of my variable. So what I'm trying to explain to you here is that whatever your variable is in background of the study is what you are going to explain the problem in statement of the problem. So your statement of the problem must be speaking the same language your background of the study is saying. So your whatever is in your back, because statement of the problem is deducted from background of the study. Statement of the problem is deducted from what? Background of the study. So you can see customer satisfaction is one of the factors that contributes to customer loyalty. Customer satisfaction refers to how satisfied a group of customers are with an e-commerce platform, and it induces product quality, responsive of service, prices, and customer care. So if someone lacks customer care, you won't patronize them again. That means it affects customer loyalty, and those are the explanations that will be in your problem, in the statements of the problem, or problem statement. So another factor here, we can identify customer satisfaction as a factor that affects customer loyalty, which is one of my independent variables. Then another factor here is what? Technological infrastructure. You can see they said also, the technological infrastructure is also important to the provision of an easy and fulfillment user experience. Then how easy is their platform is? How easy to operate their online platform, maybe website or mobile app. For example, let's use Jumia as an example. Is Jumia mobile app or internet, is it friendly users? Like, can I operate? Is it not complex? For someone that is running e-commerce platform, and you now make your website to be complex for people to use, people will be dissatisfied that they will not use the platform, and you are lacking customer loyalties. So you will be losing customers. So that's factor 2. And that is also my independent variable 2. Let's look at another one. We have another one here. Sorry. We have another one here. Payment system, yes. I know there is another one I did here that is not. I'll put paragraph there. We have another one here, payment system efficiency. So payment system, it's another factors or another independent variable that affects customer loyalty. So they said it's also a key factors that should influence customer loyalties. That means this is going to be my statement of the problem if I have inefficient payment system. Like how transparent the transaction is on the online platform. Is it a situation whereby you make payments and your money will hang and they won't be able to refund you? That is inefficient payment system, and that can reduce what we call customer loyalty. So you can see that this is now independent variable 3. So now let's move on. Do you still have another factors that affect? Another one, yes. They said another important aspect of customer loyalty. Another important aspect of customer loyalty in e-commerce platform is logistic and delivery services. This is another factor. So looking at it now, we're already in independent variable 4. So this is another platform. So as compared to conventional retailing model, what this one is explaining is that how quick and how reliable is their delivery service is. That is another issue in customer loyalties on e-commerce platform. So if you order for a particular product and it is mentioned to you that, okay, it's going to deliver on so date, and they fail to deliver it, or they deliver a wrong or error, or there's a mistake in the delivery process. So that one is going to reduce what we call customer loyalties. So you can see that the background of the study here is to explain the dependent and independent variable and the problem that associates with it. The next thing we have here is statement of the problem. And don't forget that the statement of the problem is deduced from the background of the study. Now, what you need to do in the statement of the problem is to negate all the positive activities of independent variable that can affect your dependent variable. Let's look at it. Now, they said loyalties of customers have been one of the important factors that define success of the business in a fast-growing e-commerce industry in Nigeria. So let's move on. I want to move on to the important aspects. Now, you can see now, to begin with a problem that affects satisfaction level. Can you see? Now, this is the customer satisfaction. It's not negating the customer satisfaction that probably ineffective customer satisfaction will reduce customer loyalty. That is what they are saying here. Ineffective customer satisfaction is going to reduce customer loyalty. So let's look at another one. Technological infrastructure. Secondly, can you see? Secondly, technological infrastructure. You can see that it's still explaining the same variable that you are discussing from the background of the study. So don't make that mistake. Don't go outside the box. Stay within the box. Stay within your scope. So let's look at another one. Another outstanding hindrance. Another outstanding hindrance of is payment system inefficiency. I've explained all this one. Payment system inefficiency. That's another problem. Then the last problem is going to be logistics and delivery. Without even checking it. You can see, moreover, you can see that they are negating the independent variable to explain the statement of the problem. So please don't make that mistake. So the next thing is objective of the study. Don't forget I told you that you can have research question. If you choose to have it, your research question, objective, and hypothesis must be saying the same thing. And you can use one to represent them all. There's no problem with that. So the objective of the study. Objective of the study. So the objective, we have the two sections of the objectives of the study. We have specific objective and we have primary objective or primary aim. The primary aim is the title of the topic that you are trying to examine. For example, the primary aim of this study examine the factors influencing customer loyalties in e-commerce platform. Then my specific objectives are this. My specific objectives are this. So this is wrong. Once I've used 2 here, I need to cancel anything 2 in this place. So I don't need this here. So don't make that mistake. Now, that's the primary and the specific objective to achieve the aim are this. So your objective must be speaking of your independent variable effect on dependent variable. You can see that this one is looking at assess the effect of customer satisfaction on customer loyalty. Second one, we'll be talking about the second independent variable, which is technological infrastructure on customer loyalty. Another objective, we're talking about another independent variable. So the more independent variable you have, the wider the independent variable you are working on, the more your objective is going to be. That's just the simple logic. If you have 2 independent variables, you're expecting about 2 or 3 objectives. But if you have 5 independent variables, you're expecting like 5 or 6 objectives. So the more independent variable you have, the wider your objective is going to be. So then the justification. Justification, I explained to you that those are the people that will benefit from your research. Who are the people that will benefit from e-commerce platform research, like such as customer loyalties? So let's look at what we have here. What we have here. To begin with, the study is important to companies in Nigeria. You can see, companies in Nigeria are one of the beneficiaries of this particular research. And especially to those are located in regional cities such as Ibadan, as the crucial elements affecting customer loyalty are presented. All right. So let's look at another people that are going to be the beneficiary of this particular study. Consumers are there, research institutes are there. So what is going to be here are the people that are going to benefit from your paper. And don't forget, there's something I call research gap. Research gap should be in your statement of the problem. Then what is the gap? What makes your own title, your research to be different from others? Because there's no new topic in this world. If you are working about one particular topic, someone else has already worked on it. But what makes your own unique? For example, look at this topic now. We are looking at determinant of customer loyalties on e-commerce platform. Now, this particular topic is unique from other papers because other papers, what they look at is they look at one factor on e-commerce platform. For example, me, I'm looking at more than 1 factors overall. I'm looking at about 4 factors on e-commerce platform. For other people, they will just look at logistics and delivery effects on e-commerce platform. Other papers, we look at customer satisfaction on e-commerce platform. Even there are some papers that I wrote on customer trust on e-commerce platform. But my own is factors, determinants. So I comprise more than one independent variables in my topic. So that is what makes it unique and different from others. That's what makes research gap. Then scope of the study, I've explained this to you, that scope is explaining the area of concentration. Are you concentrating on students? Are you concentrating on rural area? Are you concentrating on urban area? Are you concentrating on government? Are you concentrating on Nigeria as a whole? Or you are concentrating on states, probably in your state. You have interest in how e-commerce platform operates in states. But as far as it is concerned with this particular research, we are concentrating on students, University of Ibadan students. You see that a representative sample of students of University of Ibadan was over a structured questionnaires. So some other papers based on your schools or your project outline, some have definition of terms. Like you give them some social definitions of terms that, an external person that is not in your field will be able to understand them. So with this, I believe that you can do and work on your final year project and complete and have a reasonable chapter 1 project. So thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and comment. You can drop a question on the comment section. I will definitely answer your questions. So thank you so much. Please don't forget to subscribe. It's very important.